What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Us vs. Them YouTube channel. I'm your host, Vince, and we're here to talk about 3 more fights for the UFC fights coming up this week. We also are going to talk about Bashi versus Yannis, since they just got added earlier today. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. Bashi is coming into this fight with a 13-1 pro MMA record and an 0-1 UFC record. Yannis is coming into this fight with a 9-3 record, and he's also 0-1 in the UFC. If this was a striking battle, honestly, Yannis would have a clear advantage in this fight. I think he's very patient. He waits for his strikes. He can sometimes lull guys to sleep and make them think that they're safe, and then bam, explode with something and knock them out. He can also pick guys apart too, and we've seen that in past fights. In the fight with Nick Aguilar, however the fuck you say his name, we saw where he just kind of picked him apart until he kind of took him out of the fight. He also worked his range well in that fight, and that's one of the things that was able to really pick him apart. His boxing is what really separated him. He was able to land to the body, come up top, land to the head, and he really dismantled him. Bashi's striking is a little bit underrated, I think, but I think his biggest thing is he doesn't extend his combos. He throws a lot of one combos at a time, and he does that to set his wrestling up. Especially a big overhand left or big overhand right, boom, he's able to catch it and find some wrestling, and he's super effective with that. When it comes to the grappling, Bashi has a clear advantage here. Not only is he able to get the fight to the ground using his wrestling, a lot of double leg takedowns, but he's also just keep downward pressure on guys and keep them on the ground. When you look at Yannis, he's been taken down and had his back taken in almost every single fight that I watched. Even fights that he won, he still got his back taken. He does really good at defending himself when he's on his back, or when he's got his back taken, but that's still not a good position to be in if you're fighting Bashi. Bashi loves taking people's back, he loves ground and pounding, and he loves to sink in that rear naked choke. Another factor in this fight is going to be the pace. Bashi loves to put on a relentless pace, he loves to come forward right away, and that is just not the type of fighter Yannis is. Yannis is going to want to work range and use his lateral movement to try to pick him apart. But I just don't see that happening in this fight. I think that's going to be a big factor in Bashi's ability to get the fight to the ground. And I think the pressure is really going to favor Bashi. When it comes to my prediction, I have to favor Bashi in this one. His wrestling is way too good. I think his ability to take the fight to the ground, he's going to be able to do that pretty much whenever he wants to. And I also think he's going to be able to find his back at some point, since Yanni always has given up his back. So I'm leaning towards... for my official prediction, I'm leaning towards Bashi by submission. The next fight we have is Nakamura versus Nathan Fletcher. Nakamura is coming in right now at a -440 favorite, and Fletcher is a +310. Nakamura is also 9-1 with his pro MMA record and 3-1 in the UFC, and I believe he's an Olympian wrestler from Japan. Nathan Fletcher's coming in this about 9-2 as pro MMA and 1-1 with his UFC record. When it comes to their striking, it's really hard to see who has a clear advantage. Both of these guys, when in fights, love getting fights to the ground where they can control and eventually work ground and pounder submissions. I think Nakamura is more willing to strike. We saw that in his first fight in the UFC against Toshiyomi Kazama, where he scored an early round 1 knockout. But he was willing to stand and trade. Kazama came forward and brought the fight to him really early, and Nakamura did not back down. He stayed in the pocket, landed straighter shots and harder shots, and was able to find the knockout. Fletcher does a better job of mixing in his striking to set up some wrestling or set up some grappling. When it comes to Nakamura, it seems like his mentality can get stuck sometimes between being either a wrestler or a striker, and he seems like he struggles to blend the two disciplines well. There's also a concern about Nakamura's fight IQ. In his fight against Moin Gaffarov, Nakamura stayed in Moin's range, where his opponent was able to land strikes, and Nakamura wasn't. He didn't really pressure the pace or go forward where he can mix in some wrestling into a strike, or mix in some wrestling from his striking. He just kind of stayed at range and played the tit for tat game, and that is just not how he's going to beat Moin. I think he would have benefited greatly from moving forward in that fight. When it comes to the grappling, I think Nakamura has a clear advantage in the grappling. I think he has the advantage, particularly in being able to get the fight to the ground with his wrestling experience. Like we saw him against his last fight, he didn't try to wrestle until late in the fight. I believe it was round 3 when he actually started trying some wrestling. And Nguyen just, he didn't respect him at that point. He didn't respect the offense that was coming his way. And at that point, it was just too little too late. Fletcher has really high-level jiu-jitsu, and he transitions to submissions and to top control really well. We saw that in his fight against Don Dujas and Cage Warriors. Don was also a high-level BJJ guy, but Fletcher was able to snuff the fight out early and get the submission in round 1. He's the only guy to get a submission against that Don guy or whatever. In Fletcher's UFC fight where he was able to score a victory against Zigomontis Ramaska, Fletcher got swept a couple times, and it was kind of low-level sweeps, honestly. It wasn't like he just got too high or something like that, and Ramaska was able to get sweeps. And if he does that type of stuff against Nakamura, there's no way he's going to be able to hold down Nakamura. As far as my official prediction goes, I think Nakamura has the clear path to victory, in my opinion. When Gaffarov gave the blueprint on how to beat Nakamura, keep him at range, defend the takedowns, and just strike and tit for tat and just kind of take the fight out of him. But I just don't see Fletcher being able to implement that. Fletcher is a grappler by nature. He's going to want to get the fight to the mat. That's just what he does. And I think once the fight gets to the mat, Nakamura is going to eventually find a way to be on top. So for my official prediction, I'm going to say Nakamura by decision. The last fight we're going to be looking at today is Nick Klein versus Andre Pulyaev. Nick Klein is a plus 122 favorite, and Pulyaev is a minus 156. Klein is coming into this fight with a 6-2 pro MMA record and an 0-1 UFC record. And Pulyaev is coming in this fight with a 9-3 MMA record and an 0-1 UFC record as well. When it comes to the striking, Pulyaev has a clear advantage on him. We saw that in the Liam Anderson fight. He was able to style on him a lot throughout the fight, landing punches and kicks that were coming from everywhere. He was landing on his legs, he was landing on his body, he was landing on his head. Everywhere was causing damage. And he started really pulling away and taking the fight out of Anderson. But Anderson was able to work back in and go the full distance. When it comes to Klein striking, though, we don't have much footage on him striking really at all. The fights that I was able to watch, he comes in really early on with an aggressive style to get the fight to the mat. But the one thing I did notice with the striking that we saw later in one of his fights is he tends to keep his hands down and his chin up, which could be a problem against a guy like Pulyaev. One thing we do know about Pulyaev is that he's able to get landed on once somebody's able to actually wrestle on him. We saw that against his fight against Liam Anderson on the Contender Series. Liam Anderson was getting destroyed in the first, 8 or 9 minutes of the fight. And then once he was able to, he got a body lock, kind of just dragged Pulyaev down. And he was able to actually get full mount and started landing punches, but the time ended up running out. I think he actually could have ended the fight if there was about 10 or 15 more seconds, but that's just how it works sometimes. But it really showed that Pulyaev has a hole in his grappling. Klein utilizes his grappling and his wrestling to break down people and put a pace on them they just can't keep up with. We saw that against with his fight against Colin Hawkbody on the regional scene. Hawkbody had super good wrestling. In the first round, they clinched a lot. Hawkbody kept him against the cage. It's a really tough round to score, but as the fight started going on, Klein was able to lower his level and get those takedowns that he was looking for. And once we got to the last half of the second round and the third round, Klein really started putting a pace on him that Hawkbody just couldn't keep up. And that just goes to show the type of fighter that Klein is. He's a big, strong, durable guy, and his relentless pace in the wrestling is definitely going to be a key factor in this fight. As far as my prediction goes, I'm definitely leaning towards Klein on this one. I think the path to victory for Pulyaev is to be able to stay at range and style on him, but I definitely don't see Klein letting that happen. He's going to go forward right away. He's going to grab a hold of Pulyaev to slow him down, to stop the strikes that Pulyaev is super good at. He's definitely going to find a way to get the fight to the ground, and once he's down there, I definitely think he's going to find a finish. It either could be a TKO or a rear naked choke or a TKO. He has 3 rear naked chokes in a row, but I'm leaning towards a ground and pound on this one. I think there's a durability issue with Pulyaev, and I think once he starts taking some shots from top, it's going to eventually put him out. So for my official prediction, I'm going Klein by TKO. Well, that's it for today's video. Stop by again tomorrow so you can get the breakdown for 3 more fights for the upcoming fight this weekend. For the fights we just broke down, we have 1 underdog that I'm predicting to win and 2 favorites. But I can definitely see some more underdogs winning throughout the card this week. So stop by again tomorrow and get those predictions. Drop a comment if you disagree or agree with any of the picks. And again, if you still think I fucking suck at this, just let me know that too. I'm out.